Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where we often feel the weight of others' burdens, family members, friends, colleagues, sometimes even strangers. We see them struggle, we see them fail, and our instinct is to step in to rescue them from the chaos they've created. But let me ask you, how often have we prevented someone from facing the reality of their own actions, only to watch them return to the very situation that caused their downfall in the first place? The truth is, we can't save everyone. And more importantly, we shouldn't try. People create their own hell. They design it with every choice they make. Now, don't mistake me, this is not a message of cold detachment or lack of compassion. This is a message of tough love, a love that says, I care about you enough to let you face the consequences of your decisions. Why? Because that is the only way real transformation happens. You see, every single one of us is responsible for the life we lead. Every action, every decision, every attitude we choose, it all creates our reality. When people opt for the easy path over the right path, when they choose denial over truth, when they choose self-sabotage over self-discipline, they are building their own prison. And it's not your job to break them out. What we must understand is that no amount of rescuing can save them from the consequences of their choices. When we step in too soon, we rob them of the opportunity to grow, to learn, to change. People must face their own struggles. It is in that struggle that they will discover their strength, their resilience, and most importantly, their freedom. But how many of us fall into the trap of enabling? How many times have we allowed someone to stay in their destructive behavior because we love them too much to let go? That is not love, that is control. That is the tragic comfort of denial, where we pretend that things will improve on their own if we just keep trying to fix it. But the reality is, some people are not ready to change. And that's something we must accept. It's a hard truth to swallow, but sometimes the most loving thing we can do is to step back and let them face their own hell. The one they created with their choices. The one they must walk through alone to discover the lessons only their own experiences can teach them. This doesn't mean we stop caring. This doesn't mean we abandon them. What it means is that we trust them enough to take responsibility for their own life. We trust that their journey, painful though it may be, will lead them to the realization that they are the authors of their fate. Let me tell you, no one else can walk that path for them. You can't do it. I can't do it. And no matter how much you want to take away the pain, the truth is, it's the pain that will eventually heal them, shape them, and ultimately set them free. So stop trying to be the savior. Stop being the one who shields them from every storm. Let them go through the fire, because it's only in the fire that they will find their true strength. We must remember each of us is on our own journey. Each of us must be responsible for the choices we make, for the hell we create, and for the freedom that comes when we rise above it. It's time to let them enjoy their own hell, the one they created. And in doing so, allow them to finally break free. Personal responsibility is the cornerstone of living a purposeful and empowered life. It is the acknowledgement that we are the primary architects of our own reality. Every choice we make, every decision, every action sets the course for what we experience in life. No one else is to blame for our circumstances, and no one else can change them but us. At times we like to point fingers. It's easier to blame our circumstances, our upbringing, or the people around us for the struggles we face. But in truth, we are the ones who dictate how we respond to those things. The external world is often unpredictable, but our internal world, the way we interpret, process, and act in response to it, is within our control. Understanding personal responsibility means realizing that the outcomes of our lives are a direct result of what we have chosen, what we have decided to believe, to invest our time and energy into, and to prioritize. We are not victims of our circumstances, rather. We are the ones who decide how we will rise, how we will endure, and how we will learn from the obstacles that inevitably come our way. When we take responsibility for our own lives, we stop waiting for someone to fix things for us. We stop expecting life to be fair, because we know fairness is subjective and fluid. Life will challenge us, push us to our limits, and sometimes seem completely unjust. But in those moments, we have the power to decide what we make of them. Will we grow from them, or will we let them define us in a negative way? That is the choice we always have. Personal responsibility also involves acknowledging our flaws, shortcomings, and mistakes. It means taking ownership of the things we've done wrong, instead of shifting blame onto others or making excuses. When we take full accountability for our actions, we take away the power others might have over us. We stop living in denial or running from the truth, and we start the process of growth and transformation. It may be uncomfortable, but it is the only way to truly move forward. Personal responsibility means knowing when to say no. We cannot take on every burden. We cannot solve every problem. And we cannot be everything to everyone. Part of owning our lives means setting boundaries and being clear about what we can and cannot do. It is not selfishness, it's self-respect. When we fail to set boundaries, we risk taking on others' issues to the detriment of our own well-being. When we live in the mindset of personal responsibility, we realize that no one is coming to save us. We stop waiting for someone to change things for us, and we become the change we want to see. We stop asking why things are happening to us and start asking what we can learn from them. In doing so, we free ourselves from the limitations of blaming others, and we empower ourselves to take control of our destinies. Taking personal responsibility doesn't mean we have to do it all alone. It doesn't mean we should not seek help or guidance when we need it. It simply means that we recognize that the ultimate responsibility for our life, our choices, and our future lies with us. No one can live your life for you, just as you cannot live someone else's life for them. The power to shape your own reality is always in your hands. The sooner you embrace this, the sooner you'll step into the full power of who you are meant to be. The power of choice is one of the most profound gifts we possess as human beings. Every moment of our lives, we are confronted with decisions big and small that shape our journey. From the moment we wake up in the morning to the moment we close our eyes at night, we are choosing. Sometimes those choices are so automatic that we barely notice them. But each one has the potential to influence our future in significant ways. At its core, the power of choice reflects the fact that we are not passive participants in our lives. We are the active decision makers, and with every choice, we direct the course of our existence. Whether it's choosing our actions, attitudes, relationships, or even our thoughts, the power to decide lies within us. This is the essence of personal sovereignty. We are in control of our lives, regardless of external circumstances. Every choice we make is a step toward a specific outcome. This is why understanding the weight of our decisions is so important. Too often we dismiss the small, seemingly inconsequential choices, believing they don't matter. But in reality, those small choices accumulate over time, building the framework of our lives. The way we respond to a difficult situation, the way we handle a disagreement, or the way we choose to spend our time, all of these decisions form the narrative of who we become. The power of choice is not just about making decisions in good times. It is most evident when we face adversity. It is during challenging moments when life feels overwhelming or unfair that the power of choice becomes our greatest ally. In the face of hardship, we always have a choice. We can choose to let the situation define us negatively, or we can choose to learn and grow from it. We can choose to give up, or we can choose to persist, to seek solutions, and to find meaning in the struggle. Choice is also the foundation of freedom. If we want to truly experience freedom in our lives, we must recognize that freedom doesn't come from external conditions. It comes from the ability to choose how we respond to those conditions. No matter what circumstances we find ourselves in, no one can take away our ability to choose our mindset, our actions, and our perspective. Even when we feel trapped, even when we feel like the world is closing in on us, we still hold the power to choose how we will meet the challenge. However, with this power comes great responsibility. The power of choice means that we are accountable for our decisions. If we are unwilling to take responsibility for the choices we make, we become victims of circumstance. It's easy to blame others, to justify poor decisions, or to make excuses when things don't go as planned. But the true power of choice lies in our ability to own our decisions, even when they lead to failure or disappointment. Owning our choices, no matter the outcome, is what empowers us to grow and learn from them. The power of choice is also a reflection of our values. Every choice we make is an expression of what we value most. If we value health, we choose to eat well and exercise. If we value relationships, we choose to invest time and effort into them. If we value our dreams and goals, we make choices that align with those aspirations. Our choices reveal who we are at our core, and the more conscious we become of them, the more aligned our lives become with our deepest desires. One of the most powerful aspects of choice is that it allows us to change. No matter where we are in life, no matter how entrenched we may feel in our current situation, we can always make new choices that shift our direction. If we don't like the life we're living, we have the power to make different choices, to change our habits, to change our environment, to change our mindset. Even when we feel like we've been stuck in the same patterns for years, we still have the ability to choose differently today and start creating a new future. But with this freedom comes a paradox. We often feel overwhelmed by the sheer number of choices available to us. In a world where options seem endless, we may feel paralyzed by indecision or fear of making the wrong choice. But the reality is that no choice is truly irreversible. If we make a mistake, we can course correct. Life isn't about always making the right choice. It's about making the best decision we can with the information and resources we have at the time, and being willing to adapt when things don't go as planned. The beauty of choice is that it empowers us to define our own path. We are not limited by the decisions others have made for us, nor are we bound by the expectations that others place upon us. In the end, we are the sum total of the choices we've made. And if we're not happy with where we are, we can start making different choices today. This is the gift of personal agency, the power to choose at any moment the life we want to create for ourselves. The power of choice is always with us in every moment, and it is the key to transforming our lives. It is the recognition that we are not victims of fate, but creators of our own destiny. We must never underestimate the impact of our choices, for they are the foundation upon which everything else is built. In every decision, big or small, we shape the future, and that is a power we should embrace fully with both courage and responsibility. The consequence of ignoring wisdom is one of the most dangerous and often underestimated traps we can fall into in life. Wisdom is not just a collection of facts or information. It is the deeper understanding that comes from experience, reflection, and insight into life's patterns. It guides us toward decisions that align with our highest good and protect us from unnecessary harm. When we ignore wisdom, whether from within ourselves or from others who have walked a similar path, we risk making choices that lead to regret, suffering, and even destruction. Wisdom is the accumulated knowledge of life's lessons, often learned through trial and error. It tells us when to act and when to hold back, when to speak and when to listen. It helps us recognize the long-term impact of our decisions rather than being swayed by immediate desires or the impulse of the moment. When we ignore wisdom, we often make choices that are driven by temporary emotions, fear, anger, impatience, or even pride, rather than a clear understanding of what is truly best for us in the long run. One of the consequences of ignoring wisdom is that we often repeat the same mistakes. Without the insight gained from experience, we are doomed to cycle through similar situations, facing the same challenges over and over again, without learning the deeper lessons they offer. This is why, even when we find ourselves in difficult or painful circumstances, it's crucial to reflect on the choices we made that led us there, and to ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? Ignoring wisdom means failing to do this reflection, and instead we are caught in a loop of suffering that could have been avoided. Another consequence of ignoring wisdom is that it can isolate us from those who care about us. Wisdom often comes in the form of advice, guidance, or counsel from others, whether from mentors, elders, or trusted friends. When we dismiss the wisdom of those who have lived through similar experiences, we create distance between ourselves and the very people who want to help us grow. In our stubbornness or arrogance, we may convince ourselves that we know better, but this often leads to poor decisions that hurt us and others. Ignoring wisdom means denying ourselves the opportunity to grow and evolve. Wisdom provides us with the tools to navigate life with grace, to avoid unnecessary pain, and to build a life that reflects our true potential. Without it, we are left to face the consequences of our own ignorance, and those consequences can often be far more severe than we ever anticipate. In life, wisdom is a guiding light, a compass that steers us away from destructive paths and helps us move toward fulfillment and peace. To ignore it is to walk blindly into the unknown, unaware of the dangers that may lie ahead, and unwilling to learn from the lessons life is constantly offering us. Self-sabotage is a silent force that undermines our own potential, often without us even realizing it. It is the tendency to actively or passively prevent ourselves from achieving our goals, pursuing our dreams, or reaching the success we are capable of. This destructive behavior is driven by deep-seated fears, insecurities, or limiting beliefs, and it manifests in ways that often seem illogical or counterproductive, yet it feels almost automatic, as if we're powerless to stop it. At the root of self-sabotage is a paradox: we want to succeed, but we hold ourselves back. It might appear in the form of procrastination, perfectionism, fear of failure, or even self-doubt. These behaviors can cause us to avoid important opportunities, delay starting projects, or engage in actions that lead to failure, even when success is within reach. For example, we might subconsciously choose distractions over meaningful work, create drama in relationships, or put off critical decisions that would move us forward. In these moments, we are essentially blocking our own path to growth. One of the key reasons self-sabotage occurs is because of fear of success or change. Despite our desire for better outcomes, we often subconsciously fear what that success will require us or how it will change our lives. The discomfort of stepping into the unknown or of becoming someone different can be so unsettling that we prevent ourselves from taking the necessary steps toward achieving our goals. The fear of being found out, or the belief that we don't deserve success, can also be powerful enough to drive us to undermine our own progress. Another form of self-sabotage is the tendency to engage in negative self-talk. We tell ourselves that we are not good enough, that we can't handle the challenges, or that we'll never be able to measure up to others. These internalized beliefs create a mental environment of limitation, which in turn influences our actions or lack thereof. When we repeatedly tell ourselves that we're not capable of achieving something, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We act in ways that confirm the very beliefs that hold us back, and the cycle of self-doubt continues. Self-sabotage can also be linked to unresolved emotional wounds or past trauma. People who have experienced rejection, failure, or disappointment in the past may unconsciously set themselves up for similar experiences in the present. This pattern often comes from a place of self-protection. If we don't try, we can't fail. But in reality, this keeps us trapped in a state of mediocrity, preventing us from taking the risks necessary for growth and success. Self-sabotage is a form of self-deception. It tells us that we're protecting ourselves from harm or failure, but in reality, it's the very thing that prevents us from moving forward in life. We convince ourselves that we're not ready, that the time isn't right, or that we don't have what it takes. In doing so, we avoid the discomfort and challenges that come with growth, and ironically, it's this very avoidance that keeps us stuck in our old patterns. Breaking the cycle of self-sabotage requires self-awareness and the willingness to confront our fears and limiting beliefs. We must recognize the patterns that keep us from taking action and ask ourselves why we are resisting success. Is it fear of failure? Fear of success? A lack of self-worth? Once we can identify the underlying causes, we can start to rewrite the narrative and replace self-sabotage with self-empowerment. By learning to identify the triggers of self-sabotage and reframing our beliefs, we open the door to new possibilities. Success, happiness, and fulfillment are not out of reach. They are waiting on the other side of our self-imposed barriers. The key to breaking free from self-sabotage is to realize that we are the ones standing in our own way, and that with the right mindset and action, we have the power to remove those obstacles and move toward the life we truly, truly want. Tough love is one of the most powerful, yet misunderstood forms of care and compassion. It is the practice of setting firm boundaries and allowing individuals to face the consequences of their actions, even when it is difficult to watch. At its core, tough love is not about being harsh or unkind. Rather, it is about being honest, direct, and unyielding in the belief that people need to experience the natural outcomes of their choices in order to grow and mature. In a world where we often feel compelled to rescue those we love from their struggles, tough love challenges us to take a step back and let people face the consequences of their actions. The truth is, when we constantly intervene to protect others from the results of their mistakes, we rob them of the opportunity to learn valuable lessons that could lead to long-term growth. By stepping in to cushion the blow, we might believe we're being compassionate, but in reality, we're denying them the experience they need to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Allowing someone to face the consequences of their actions doesn't mean we're abandoning them or not caring. In fact, it can be one of the most loving things we can do. People can only grow if they understand that their actions have real effects on themselves and on those around them. When we shield someone from these effects, we create a false sense of security that ultimately holds them back. They never learn the crucial lessons that come from making mistakes and correcting them. Tough love forces a person to take ownership of their behavior and its impact, which is the first step toward true self-improvement. The necessity of allowing consequences also extends to the idea of teaching accountability. Without accountability, there is no true progress. If a person consistently faces no repercussions for their actions, they may develop a sense of entitlement or irresponsibility, believing that they can behave in any way without suffering any negative outcomes. This mindset doesn't prepare them for the real world, where actions always come with consequences. In allowing people to face the consequences of their behavior, we teach them that their choices matter and that they must take responsibility for them. One of the hardest parts of tough love is accepting that it's not always the easy or comfortable choice. It can be emotionally painful to watch someone struggle or fail, especially if they are someone we deeply care about. Our instinct is often to step in, to make things better, to prevent suffering. But in doing so, we may be perpetuating a cycle of dependence, preventing them from developing the tools they need to navigate life independently. Growth often comes through discomfort and struggle, and if we are constantly trying to make life easier for others, we might unintentionally be stunting their personal development. Tough love is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It requires wisdom, discernment, and an understanding of the person involved. It's not about being punitive or judgmental. It's about recognizing when someone is capable of handling the consequences of their actions, and when they need to experience the reality of their choices in order to learn from them. Tough love must always be balanced with empathy and compassion, understanding that even though we may allow someone to face the consequences, we are still here to offer support and guidance when they are ready to learn and grow from the experience. Tough love is about teaching the value of personal responsibility. It empowers individuals to recognize that they are the ones who shape their destiny through the choices they make. By allowing consequences to unfold naturally, we give others the opportunity to take ownership of their lives, learn from their mistakes, and ultimately become stronger and more self-sufficient. It's a difficult process, but it's also one of the most important acts of love we can offer to someone who is struggling. Tough love doesn't just teach them lessons, it teaches them how to stand on their own, face adversity with courage, and take charge of their own future. The idea that no one else can save you is a powerful truth, yet one that many people resist. It speaks to the deep personal responsibility that each of us holds over our own lives. We often look for someone to rescue us when things go wrong, whether it's a friend, a partner, a parent, or even a savior figure. We think that if someone else can just fix our problems, remove the obstacles, or carry the weight, we'll finally be free of our struggles. But the hard truth is that no one else can live your life for you or solve your problems in a way that will lead to lasting change. You are the only one who has the power to save yourself. This truth isn't meant to be harsh or discouraging, rather it's empowering. It shifts the responsibility for your happiness, your success, and your growth back into your hands. The people around you may offer support, guidance, and love, but at the end of the day, it's your decisions, actions, and mindset that will determine the course of your life. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that others hold the key to our fulfillment, but that's an illusion. If we are constantly waiting for someone to come and rescue us, we miss the opportunity to tap into the vast well of strength and potential that lies within us. No one can save you from yourself. It's your own self-limiting beliefs, your own fears, and your own doubts that often stand in the way of your success. It's tempting to blame external circumstances for our setbacks, but the reality is that our internal responses to those circumstances are what shape our outcomes. If we want to change our lives, we must first recognize that we are the ones who need to take responsibility for the direction we're headed. Others can offer help, but it's ultimately up to us to take the necessary steps to change. When we accept that no one else can save us, we stop waiting for the perfect moment or the right person to come along and solve everything. Instead, we begin to look inward to assess where we are, what's holding us back, and what changes we need to make. This is where true empowerment begins. We become the hero of our own story, not because we never face challenges, but because we choose to rise to meet them, take responsibility, and take action. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't lean on others or ask for help when we need it. Community, mentorship, and relationships are essential to our growth. But those external sources of support cannot do the work for us. They can encourage, guide, and inspire, but ultimately we must walk the path ourselves. It's our willingness to take ownership of our life, our choices, our mistakes, and our victories that unlocks the door to true freedom and fulfillment. The idea that no one else can save you also teaches us resilience. Life will throw challenges our way, And it's easy to feel helpless in the face of adversity. But when we internalize the truth that we are the ones who have the power to change our circumstances, we stop playing the victim. We stop waiting for someone else to make things better. Instead, we take the initiative to find solutions, learn from our experiences, and press forward, no matter how difficult the journey might be. By accepting that we are responsible for our own salvation, we free ourselves from the prison of dependency. We no longer wait for external validation or intervention to feel worthy or capable. We recognize that the strength, wisdom, and courage we need to overcome any obstacle already reside within us. The key is in our own hands. The question is, will we turn it? No one else can save you because no one else can walk your path. You are the author of your own story. You are the one who must rise to the challenges, who must make the decisions, and who must choose to take control of your destiny. It's your life, your choices, and your responsibility to make the most of it. When you embrace this truth, you step into the fullness of your potential, knowing that you are the one who determines the course of your future. The tragic comfort of denial is a psychological refuge many of us turn to when faced with harsh truths or overwhelming emotions. Denial offers a temporary sense of relief by allowing us to ignore, avoid, or minimize uncomfortable realities. In the moment, it feels like a safe space, a protective shield from the pain or anxiety that comes with facing difficult situations. Yet, as comforting as denial can seem, it is ultimately a trap, a way of delaying the inevitable, and in the long run, it can cause more harm than good. At its core, denial is a defense mechanism. It allows us to function in the face of reality when we feel ill-equipped to deal with it. Whether we are denying the severity of a health condition, the dysfunction in a relationship, or the impact of our own behaviors, denial provides a temporary emotional cushion. It helps us avoid confronting the feelings of helplessness, fear, or guilt that might arise if we were to fully acknowledge the situation. But while denial may keep us numb or distracted in the short term, it ultimately prevents us from taking the steps needed to change or heal. The tragedy of denial lies in the fact that it keeps us stuck. When we deny the truth, we avoid the very actions that could lead to growth and transformation. For example, someone might deny that they are in an unhealthy relationship because acknowledging the reality would require them to make difficult choices, like leaving or confronting issues that feel insurmountable. Or an individual might deny their own unhealthy habits, even though deep down they know these behaviors are taking a toll on their health, relationships, and future. In these situations, denial becomes a form of self-sabotage, keeping us trapped in patterns that prevent us from living authentically or moving forward. Denial also prevents us from learning the lessons life is trying to teach us. Life has a way of sending us messages, often in the form of challenges, pain, or discomfort that point us toward areas that need attention. Denying these messages means we miss out on the opportunities for growth and self-awareness. We fail to take the necessary actions to change our circumstances or better understand ourselves. For example, someone may deny that they are feeling unfulfilled at work because acknowledging it would force them to confront their dissatisfaction and perhaps make significant changes in their career. By avoiding the truth, they avoid the opportunity to find deeper fulfillment or to make choices that would lead to a more meaningful life. Denial often results in emotional and physical consequences. When we bottle up emotions, refuse to face the truth, or push down difficult realities, we create a kind of inner tension. Over time, this can lead to increased stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical illness. The body and mind have a way of signaling when something is wrong, and if we continue to deny these signals, they will eventually manifest in more profound and potentially damaging ways. Denial doesn't make problems go away, it simply postpones the inevitable reckoning, often making the situation worse when we finally confront it. Another tragic aspect of denial is the way it impacts relationships. When we deny the truth about others, whether it's about their feelings, actions, or the state of the relationship, we prevent honest communication and growth. Denying that there are issues within a friendship or partnership may seem like a way to preserve peace or avoid conflict, but in reality, it only prolongs the underlying tension and prevents resolution. Healthy relationships require vulnerability, honesty, and the willingness to face uncomfortable truths together. Denial undermines these qualities, keeping both parties stuck in a false sense of harmony while the real issues fester beneath the surface. The comfort of denial is deceptive. It offers a temporary escape from reality, but it ultimately steals our agency, our growth, and our peace of mind. While denial may shield us from immediate discomfort, it prevents us from experiencing the clarity and freedom that come with accepting reality, no matter how painful. True healing and progress come only when we are willing to confront the truths we've been avoiding, no matter how difficult or unsettling they may be. Denial may offer comfort in the short term, but facing the truth, no matter how hard, is the only path to long-term growth, fulfillment, and authenticity. Empowerment through acceptance is a transformative concept that teaches us the strength found in embracing reality as it is, without resistance, judgment, or denial. It may seem counterintuitive at first, but the moment we truly accept ourselves, our circumstances, and our past, we unlock a profound power to change and grow. Acceptance is not about passivity or giving up. It is about coming to terms with what is, so that we can move forward with clarity, intention, and a sense of inner peace. At its core, acceptance is the practice of acknowledging the present moment without trying to manipulate it, resist it, or wish it away. When we accept something, whether it's a difficult situation, a personal flaw, or a setback, we stop wasting energy fighting against reality. Instead, we focus on what we can control, how we respond, what we learn, and how we move forward. This shift in mindset is empowering because it frees us from the grip of frustration, anger, or regret. We stop giving our power away to things outside of our control and instead use our energy to make the most of what we can influence. One of the key areas where empowerment through acceptance is transformative is in our relationship with ourselves. We live in a culture that constantly pushes us to improve, to strive for perfection, and to meet external standards. But this can lead to a sense of inadequacy, self-criticism, and a perpetual cycle of never feeling good enough. Acceptance allows us to break free from this cycle. It is the recognition that we are worthy and valuable as we are, not because we meet some arbitrary ideal, but because we are human and deserving of love, respect, and compassion, flaws and all. When we accept ourselves, we stop seeking validation from others and start finding it within. This self-acceptance builds a solid foundation for true empowerment because it enables us to act from a place of wholeness, not deficiency. Similarly, empowerment through acceptance extends to how we view our circumstances and challenges. Life is unpredictable, and it rarely unfolds according to our plans. Instead of resisting the hardships we face, whether it's a job loss, a failed relationship, or a personal failure, we can empower ourselves by accepting that these situations are part of our journey. Acceptance doesn't mean that we like or condone difficult circumstances. Rather, it means that we stop denying their existence or wishing they were different. By accepting our reality, we acknowledge the lessons and opportunities hidden within those challenges. We give ourselves the emotional space to process, heal, and begin to make choices that move us forward. Acceptance also enables us to let go of the burden of control. We cannot control everything that happens to us. And the more we try to force life to conform to our desires, the more frustrated and disempowered we become. When we accept that there are factors beyond our control, such as the actions of others, the passage of time, or certain uncontrollable circumstances, we free ourselves from the need to control everything. This release of control allows us to focus on what we can influence: our actions, our mindset, and how we choose to show up in the world. In this way, acceptance is liberating. It shifts the focus from trying to change the unchangeable to taking responsibility for our own responses and growth. Another aspect of empowerment through acceptance is the ability to embrace our past. Many of us carry guilt, shame, or regret over past mistakes, missed opportunities, or perceived failures. These feelings can trap us in a cycle of self-blame and prevent us from moving forward. Acceptance allows us to acknowledge our past without judgment or condemnation, and to recognize that every experience, whether positive or negative, has contributed to who we are today. By accepting our past, we free ourselves from its grip and allow ourselves to live in the present, no longer held hostage by things we cannot change. We gain the power to learn from our experiences, apply those lessons, and move forward with greater wisdom. Empowerment through acceptance also plays a significant role in our relationships with others. When we accept people as they are, rather than trying to change them or expecting them to meet our ideals, we cultivate deeper, more authentic connections. Acceptance fosters empathy and understanding, allowing us to meet others where they are without judgment or frustration. This doesn't mean we tolerate unhealthy behavior or allow others to treat us poorly, but it does mean that we recognize and accept their humanity. By accepting others, we free ourselves from the pain of unmet expectations and build stronger, more compassionate relationships. Empowerment through acceptance is about reclaiming our power. It is the realization that we are not victims of our circumstances, but active participants in our own lives. When we stop fighting against reality, we can engage fully with the present, learn from it, and choose how we will respond. Acceptance gives us the clarity and peace needed to make empowered decisions, take meaningful action, and move toward the life we desire. It is a practice that requires courage, patience, and compassion, but it is one of the most profound tools for unlocking our inner strength and potential. Through acceptance, we learn to love and respect ourselves, embrace our challenges, and rise above the limitations of denial, fear, or resistance. The role of compassion and boundaries is a delicate yet essential balance in maintaining healthy relationships and cultivating personal well-being. Compassion is the ability to empathize with others' suffering and offer kindness, understanding, and support. It's the willingness to walk beside someone in their pain and celebrate their victories without judgment. Boundaries, on the other hand, are the limits we set to protect our own emotional, mental, and physical well-being. While compassion allows us to be present for others, boundaries ensure that we don't lose ourselves in the process. Together, these two elements create the framework for balanced, respectful, and nurturing interactions with others, while also protecting our own integrity. Compassion is often seen as the highest form of love and care. It's about seeing another person's pain or need and feeling moved to help, comfort, or support them. However, without boundaries, compassion can become a double-edged sword. While it motivates us to give, listen, and support others, it can also lead to burnout, resentment, and a loss of self if we continually put others' needs before our own. This is where boundaries come in. They provide the necessary structure for healthy compassion. Setting boundaries is not about rejecting or being unkind to others, but about understanding where our responsibility ends and another person's responsibility begins. When we set clear boundaries, we communicate to others what is acceptable and what is not, and we also show respect for our own limits. Healthy boundaries ensure that we don't overextend ourselves emotionally, physically, or mentally. They protect our energy and preserve our sense of self-worth while still allowing us to be compassionate and caring toward others. Boundaries create a space where we can give to others without losing our own balance. and where we can still show up with empathy and love, but within a context that honors our own needs. One of the challenges many face in establishing boundaries is the fear of appearing selfish or unkind. We may worry that setting limits will alienate others or cause them to feel neglected. But in reality, setting boundaries is one of the most loving things we can do, not only for ourselves but also for others. When we are depleted, burned out, or resentful because we neglected our own needs, we are no longer able to offer our best selves to anyone. Boundaries ensure that we maintain our emotional health, so that when we do give, we give from a place of abundance, not scarcity. This allows us to show up for others in a more authentic, present, and compassionate way. Boundaries help to establish mutual respect in relationships. When we communicate our boundaries clearly, we teach others how to treat us and create an environment where respect is a two-way street. Boundaries are not meant to isolate us from others, but to create space where both parties can interact in ways that are healthy, respectful, and supportive. For example, if someone consistently interrupts us, a boundary might be asking for them to listen without speaking over us. This is an act of self-respect and also a way of fostering more respectful communication within the relationship. The more we practice setting healthy boundaries, the more we demonstrate that our needs and feelings are just as important as anyone else's. Boundaries are especially important when it comes to protecting our mental health. Compassion for others doesn't mean we need to take on their emotional burdens as our own. It's easy to become emotionally overwhelmed when we absorb too much of another person's pain, especially in relationships where the other person might not have the tools or willingness to manage their own issues. This is where emotional boundaries become crucial. Compassion means being there for someone in their struggle, but it does not mean carrying their pain as if it were our own. By setting emotional boundaries, we protect ourselves from becoming overly enmeshed or codependent, allowing us to offer support without losing our sense of self or becoming emotionally drained. Boundaries are not static, they are fluid and need to be reassessed over time. Life circumstances, personal growth, and changing dynamics in relationships may require us to adjust our boundaries accordingly. For example, we may need to strengthen our boundaries if we feel overwhelmed, or we may need to soften them if we recognize that we've been too rigid in certain situations. The key is to stay attuned to our own feelings and needs, and to adjust as necessary. This requires a level of self-awareness and introspection that is crucial for maintaining balance in our lives. The role of compassion and boundaries also intersects in how we handle conflict and difficult situations. In any relationship, there will be disagreements, misunderstandings, or moments of discomfort. Compassion allows us to approach these moments with empathy and understanding, but boundaries help us navigate them with integrity and clarity. When we are able to express our feelings, needs, and limits respectfully, we open the door for deeper understanding and resolution. Compassion enables us to listen and validate the feelings of others, while boundaries ensure that we don't allow ourselves to be mistreated, disrespected, or taken advantage of. The relationship between compassion and boundaries is one of balance. Compassion opens our hearts to the suffering and needs of others, while boundaries protect our emotional and physical space so that we can give without compromising ourselves. By practicing both, we can cultivate healthier relationships, deeper empathy, and a greater sense of well-being. We can be fully present for others while also taking care of ourselves, creating a foundation of mutual respect, love, and understanding. True empowerment comes not just from caring for others, but from knowing how to care for ourselves within the context of those relationships. Breaking the cycle of enabling is one of the most difficult yet necessary steps toward healing, both for ourselves and the people we care about. Enabling is the act of doing something for someone that they could and should be doing for themselves, often out of a desire to protect them or make their life easier. It might seem like an act of kindness or love in the moment, but over time, enabling can have a devastating effect on both the person being helped and the person doing the helping. The cycle of enabling perpetuates dependency, stunts personal growth, and ultimately reinforces unhealthy patterns in relationships. To break this cycle requires a deep understanding of its harmful effects and the courage to take action, even when it feels uncomfortable or counterintuitive. At its core, enabling is rooted in a desire to alleviate the suffering of others. We often enable people because we love them, care for them, or don't want to see them struggle. Whether it's giving money to someone who repeatedly makes poor financial choices, covering up for someone's mistakes, or doing tasks that someone else should be responsible for, the intention behind enabling is usually to avoid conflict, prevent pain, or protect the other person from the consequences of their actions. But while these intentions are often rooted in compassion, the result can be the opposite of what we intend. Instead of helping the person, we actually make it harder for them to take responsibility for their actions, grow, or learn from their mistakes. One of the most insidious aspects of enabling is that it can feel good in the short term. When we rescue someone or take care of things for them, we might feel like we're doing something positive. We get a sense of satisfaction or relief that their immediate problems are being solved. However, in doing so, we prevent the other person from experiencing the natural consequences of their actions, which are often the very things they need to face in order to change. Without those consequences, they may never learn the lessons they need to learn, and the cycle of dependency continues. Breaking the cycle of enabling begins with recognizing the harm it causes, not just to the person we are enabling, but also to ourselves. Enabling can create an unhealthy dynamic in relationships, where one person assumes the role of the caretaker, fixer, or problem solver, while the other becomes passive, reliant, and disempowered. Over time, this can lead to feelings of frustration, resentment, and burnout in the person doing the enabling, as they continue to sacrifice their own well-being for the sake of someone else. The enabler may feel trapped in a never-ending cycle of giving without receiving, and may even lose sight of their own needs, desires, and goals. To break this cycle, it's essential to understand that true love and care involve helping others grow and become self-sufficient rather than perpetuating dependency. This means allowing others to experience the natural consequences of their actions, no matter how difficult that may be to watch. It can be hard to step back and let someone struggle or fail, especially when we think we know what's best for them. However, it is through struggle and failure that people develop resilience, accountability, and the ability to change. By stepping back, we give the other person the chance to take ownership of their life, make their own decisions, and ultimately learn how to solve their own problems. Part of breaking the cycle also involves setting boundaries. It's important to communicate clearly and assertively about what we are willing and able to do and what we are no longer willing to tolerate. This requires a shift in mindset where we stop seeing our role as a caretaker or fixer and start seeing ourselves as someone who deserves respect and consideration in the relationship. Setting boundaries might mean saying no to requests for help that would enable unhealthy behavior, or it might mean stepping away from a situation where we're being asked to shoulder a burden that isn't ours to carry. It's about recognizing that while we can offer support and encouragement, we are not responsible for the other person's choices or outcomes. Breaking the cycle of enabling also requires us to confront our own fears and guilt. Often we enable others because we are afraid of what will happen if we don't. We might worry that they will fail, suffer, or face consequences that feel too harsh. We may also feel guilty for not doing enough or for withdrawing our support. But the truth is, enabling someone isn't helping them, it's actually preventing them from growing and maturing. It's important to remember that our love and care for someone should not come at the expense of their ability to learn, grow, and take responsibility for their own life. It may be painful to watch someone struggle, but that struggle is often the very thing that helps them change. Breaking the cycle of enabling is also about fostering empowerment. Instead of taking responsibility for someone else's problems, we empower them to take charge of their own life. We encourage them to seek help, make better decisions, and learn from their mistakes. This is not to say that we withdraw our love or support completely. It's about offering that support in a way that encourages independence and growth. Sometimes the most compassionate thing we can do is to let someone figure things out on their own, with the knowledge that we'll be there to support them when they are ready to take responsibility for their actions. Finally, breaking the cycle of enabling is about self-care. The act of constantly rescuing or solving problems for someone else can leave us emotionally drained and disconnected from our own needs. By breaking the cycle, we create space for our own growth, healing, and well-being. We learn to prioritize our own mental, emotional, and physical health, and we reclaim our energy and sense of purpose. Breaking the cycle of enabling is a profound act of love, not just for others, but for ourselves. It's about recognizing that true care involves helping people develop the strength and skills they need to thrive on their own. When we step back, set boundaries, and stop enabling, we allow others the space they need to learn, grow, and become empowered to take charge of their own lives. And in doing so, we create relationships that are healthier, more respectful, and ultimately more fulfilling.